Following World War II, the United States emerged as a global leader in experimental aircraft development. Initially launched as a collaborative effort between NACA, the predecessor of NASA, the US Navy, and the US Army Air Forces, the X-plane program has since expanded to encompass 66 distinct designations. And in today's video, we'll look at them, as they are some of the most incredible aircraft ever built that were successfully flown. Let's take a look at the experimental plane that started it all, the X-1. In the early days of aviation, approaching the speed of sound, or Mach 1, presented significant challenges. Aircraft designers grappled with increased drag, severe turbulence, and loss of control, among other issues. To tackle these problems, representatives from NACA, the Army Air Forces, and the Navy joined forces and selected Bell Aircraft to construct the X-1. At the time, the only man-made object capable of achieving supersonic speeds was a .50 caliber bullet, which served as the inspiration for the plane's design. Despite some controversy over their safety, the aircraft was equipped with a 4-chambered rocket engine that burned liquid oxygen combined with a mixture of alcohol and water. Over the next few years, the experimental plane underwent a series of test flights and minor modifications to its wings until it was deemed ready to break the sound barrier. The man chosen to pilot the historic flight was legendary US Air Force Captain Charles "Chuck" Yeager. After completing 3 glide flights, Yeager attempted his first powered flight on August 29, 1947, reaching a speed of Mach 0.85, close but no cigar. Over the next 6 weeks, he made repeated attempts, coming as close as Mach 0.997, but still falling just short of breaking the sound barrier. Finally, on October 14, 1947, Chuck Yeager achieved a speed of Mach 1.06, becoming the first person to fly faster than the speed of sound. Just before we continue today, a quick word from our fantastic sponsor, and that of course is Surfshark. Look, are you sick of spam calls and phishing scams? Who isn't? But look, every time you share your real phone number, you're basically opening the door to robocalls, to marketers, and even potentially something worse, if there can be something worse than robocallers. But things like identity theft. Look, with Surfshark's alternate number, you get a virtual US phone number to use when you sign up for things online. Online shopping, deliveries, dating apps, reservations, that sort of thing. Anywhere where you don't really want to share your real number. And if spam calls do start coming in, you can just change the number. No hassle, no risk, no more unwanted calls. So look, right now, you can get an alternate number plus 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN at surfshark.com/altside. Stay private, stay protected with Surfshark. Check it out today. And now back to today's episode. In airplane jargon, an angle of attack, or AOA, refers to the angle at which an aircraft can fly effectively before experiencing a wingtip stall. A wingtip stall occurs when airflow is disrupted at the wingtips, causing that portion of the wing to lose lift while other parts maintain it, potentially leading to a loss of control at higher AOAs. This has been a common issue throughout aircraft development. While most planes have a maximum AOA of 10 to 20 degrees, some aircraft can push beyond this range. But even the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II, regarded as one of the world's most advanced fighter jets, tops out at an AOA of 50 degrees. Over the years, designers have sought to address this issue with reverse-swept wings. While it may sound counterintuitive, forward-pointing wings enable airflow to travel more smoothly from the wingtips forward to the body of the plane, allowing all parts of the aircraft to generate lift without disruption. Although there were some earlier attempts to use reverse-swept wings to combat these challenges, the necessary technology wasn't available until the development of advanced composite materials in the 1970s. Then, in 1981, the Grumman Corporation secured an $87 million contract, which is $300 million today, to build 2 X-29 aircraft based on this innovative design. The new planes measured at 48.1 feet, that's nearly 15 meters in length, with a wingspan of 27 feet, or about 8 meters, and were powered by a single engine producing 16,000-pound force of thrust. This allowed the aircraft to achieve a maximum speed of Mach 1.6 and operate at altitudes of up to 50,000 feet. It did all of this while demonstrating superior angles of attack compared to any aircraft that came before it. While the first X-29 reached a maximum AOA of 21 degrees, the second version of the aircraft easily achieved 45 degrees while maintaining full control. Remarkably, it even retained limited control at an AOA of 67 degrees. In the early days of space exploration, one of the biggest challenges was ensuring the safe return of astronauts. Unlike conventional airplanes, which rely on wings for stabilization, wings on a spacecraft re-entering the atmosphere face extreme heat and damage, potentially rendering them useless even if they survive. So, Out of the need for wingless aircraft that could survive the drops from the upper atmosphere and use its aerodynamic body to generate lift, the X-24 was born. The first version of the X-24, the X-24A, was designed by Martin Marietta, now Lockheed Martin, and featured a metallic silver teardrop-shaped appearance reminiscent of Superman's space pod. To test the aircraft, it was dropped from a modified B-52 bomber, completing 12 successful glide flights between 1969 and 1970. It then moved on to 28 powered flights in subsequent years, reaching speeds of Mach 1.6 and successfully simulating a landing approach from an altitude of over 71,000 feet, or 21,600 meters. Next came the X-24B, which featured a more modern, airplane-like design with a long-nosed delta shape, a rounded top, and a flat bottom. Over the course of 36 flights, the X-24B completed 12 glides from the modified B-52 at altitudes of up to 45,000 feet or 13,700 meters, and 24 powered flights reaching altitudes between 60 and 70,000 feet or 18,300 to 21,300 meters at speeds similar to the X-24A. However, unlike its predecessor, the X-24B was capable of performing runway landings. In the 1950s, helicopters were still a relatively new technology. The Bell UH-1, commonly known as the Huey, was one of the best of its era, with a maximum altitude of 12,700 feet or 3,900 meters and a top speed of 148 miles per hour or 238 kilometers an hour. Driven by the desire to integrate the new technology into airplanes, the concept of vertical or short takeoff and landing (VSTOL) technology was born. The first major foray into VSTOL would be the X-18, designed in 1955 by the Hiller Aircraft Corporation. Custom-built from spare parts of other aircraft, the propeller plane was Frankenstein's monster-like machine that resembled a large transport plane. Its 16-foot or 5-meter propellers were positioned to face directly upward for takeoff, much like a helicopter. Once airborne, the wings would tilt downward, allowing the propellers to face forward like those of a conventional plane. Despite weighing over 20,000 pounds, that's over 9,000 kilograms, the X-18 was capable of flying at altitudes exceeding 35,000 feet or 11,000 meters. The aircraft was powered by 2 coupled turboprop engines, each producing 5,850 horsepower, along with a single turbojet engine to assist with pitch control. Unfortunately, the turboprop engines weren't cross-linked, meaning that if one engine failed, the entire plane would be at risk of crashing. The wings also proved more problematic than beneficial, as their large surface area would catch the wind like a sail. On its 20th flight, this issue led the aircraft to spin out of control. Unfortunately, although the crew managed to land it safely, the X-18 was retired from service. However, it went on to inspire the development of the V-22 Osprey. As demonstrated with the X-29, issues with loss of control and maneuverability at high AOAs have been a common challenge in aircraft development from the outset. While the X-29 addressed this problem with reverse-swept wings, the X-36 aimed to tackle it through a completely different approach using almost every other design element. Built at about 1/4 scale of its full dimensions, the X-36 fighter jet prototype was a 19-foot-long or 5.8-meter tailless aircraft with a 10-foot-wide or 3-meter wingspan that seamlessly blended into its body. Unlike conventional planes, which use a tail fin for vertical stabilization and a rear wing for horizontal control, the Boeing Phantom Works creation employed a canard at the front of the wing, split ailerons for directional control, and a thrust-vectoring nozzle to make course corrections by adjusting its angle. It was also equipped with a fly-by-wire system in which the pilot's control inputs are sent directly to a computer, which then interprets those inputs and determines the best course of action automatically. In contrast, conventional systems link the pilot's inputs directly to mechanical parts. This setup allows computers to make faster and more effective decisions at high speeds. Meanwhile, the cockpit, which was too small to accommodate a pilot, was outfitted with a camera, allowing personnel to remotely control the aircraft from a virtual cockpit on the ground. Over the course of 31 successful flights during 25 weeks in 1997, the X-36 demonstrated its ability to maneuver at an angle of attack of 40 degrees while reaching speeds of 234 miles per hour or 377 kilometers an hour at a maximum altitude of about 20,000 feet. Another technology that saw significant research in the post-war era, along with how to integrate it safely into aircraft, was rocketry. The Bell X-2 aimed to explore this while also advancing our understanding of how aerodynamic heating affects the structural integrity of aircraft at high speeds and altitudes. It was designed with a swept wing, narrow needle-like nose, and featured a variable thrust rating ranging from 2,500 to 15,000 pounds force of thrust. While the X-2 was nicknamed the Starbuster, a more fitting name might have been the Crewbuster. Although the first of the two aircraft was delivered without an engine since it wasn't ready yet, this did not prevent unpowered and captive flights from taking place. During these flights, one aircraft would be attached to another to test aspects such as stability and control that did not require a running engine. After the engine was installed, however, tragedy struck. During one of these test flights, the X-2 exploded, damaging the B-50 that was carrying it and resulting in the deaths of 2 crew members on board. Despite this setback, the captive missions ultimately succeeded, and powered flights began in October 1955, with the X-2 reaching supersonic speeds by the following year. On July 23, 1956, pilot Pete Everest became the fastest man alive when he reached a speed of Mach 2.87 in the X-2 at an altitude of 68,000 feet or 20,700 meters. Just a month and a half later, pilot Ivan Kinchelow set a different record in the same aircraft, reaching an altitude of 126,200 feet or 38,500 meters, and earning him the title of First of the Spacemen. However, the third time the aircraft broke a record would also mark the end of the program. On September 27, 1956, Captain Milburn Mel Apt became the first person to surpass Mach 3, reaching a speed of 2,094 miles per hour. But after making an abrupt turn, he lost control of the aircraft. Though he deployed his escape capsule, he was unable to free himself from it and tragically crashed into the ground. Although the earlier propeller plane was very successful, it served as significant inspiration for many subsequent X-planes, including the Bell XV-15 tilt-rotor. Designed as a joint project between the Army and NASA, this new aircraft featured twin turboshaft engines connected by a cross-shaft, giving it a rotorplane appearance rather than the fixed-wing design of previous attempts. The engines and main transmissions were integrated into the wingtips, so as the wingtips and propellers rotated to face upward for takeoff, the heavier components would shift as well, easing the load on the cross-shaft system. The propellers were a simple 3-bladed design, each with a 25-foot or 7.5-meter diameter. In hover mode, the aircraft could maintain position for up to an hour. Meanwhile, the rotor pylons were designed to rotate between horizontal and vertical positions, eliminating speed barrier issues in former attempts and enabling the aircraft to achieve operational speeds of 345 miles per hour or 550 kilometers an hour. While the first XV-15 was a resounding success, it was the second prototype that saw the most longevity, completing over 700 hours of testing between 1979 and 2003 in a variety of conditions. In 2003, the experimental aircraft was donated to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, becoming the first artifact to be flown onto the museum's grounds. In traditional jet engines, fan blades compress air, mix it with fuel, ignite it, and then expel the resulting exhaust to create thrust. A ramjet, on the other hand, uses shock cones to slow the incoming air to subsonic speeds, typically at speeds of Mach 3 to Mach 6, before mixing it with fuel for combustion without the need for blades. Scramjets, however, are a newer technology that can perform all the functions of a ramjet, but with the added advantage of not needing to slow the air even while operating at hypersonic speeds. This was the revolutionary tech behind the unmanned X-43, which began conceptual designs in 1996. The $230 million project ultimately took 8 years to complete, producing 3 sleek, flat, triangular-shaped aircraft, each measuring 12 feet or 3.7 meters in length. The designs of each were slightly varied to accommodate different speeds. The first 2 were built for Mach 7, while the third was designed for Mach 10. But all of them were built for single use. Each aircraft would be attached to the wing of a B-52 and carried aloft with the help of a Pegasus booster rocket, enabling them to reach the necessary speed to engage the scramjets. Though the first attempt failed due to a booster rocket malfunction, the second and third attempts proceeded without issue. In March 2004, the first X-43 reached a speed of nearly 5,000 miles per hour or 8,000 kilometers an hour, breaking the record for a jet-powered vehicle, though it fell just short of Mach 7. On its third flight, the X-43 achieved an astounding speed of Mach 9.6 and an altitude of 110,000 feet or 33,500 meters, becoming the fastest aircraft ever built. By 1955, the United States had made advancements in rocket technology, aerodynamics, thermodynamics, and more, all thanks to experimental planes. The X-15 was nothing short of all of these advancements amalgamated into a single project that aimed to take aircraft to an entirely new height: space. The X-15 was a joint project between NASA, the Air Force, the Navy, and North American Aviation Incorporated. It was a 50-foot-long, 15-meter manned vehicle that resembled a rocket projectile. The exterior was made of a nickel-chrome alloy designed to withstand the extreme effects of aerodynamic heating within the atmosphere. For its time spent outside the atmosphere, the X-15 was equipped with thrust rockets on the nose to assist with pitch and yaw control, while additional rockets on the wings provided roll control. The first powered flight took place on September 17, 1959, with pilot Scott Crossfield at the controls. Over the next 9 years, 198 more tests were completed by 12 different pilots, including the legendary Neil Armstrong. During this time, the X-15 repeatedly left Earth's atmosphere, reaching a record-breaking altitude of 354,200 feet or 108,000 meters, right at the edge of space. It also set the speed record for a manned aircraft, reaching Mach 6.7, a record that still stands today. When an aircraft exceeds the speed of sound, it creates a series of air pressure waves in its wake. When these waves collide, they produce a sonic boom. For this reason, civil aircraft flying above Mach 1 are strictly prohibited from flying over land. While many X-planes have aimed to break the speed or sound barrier records, NASA's X-59, part of the CREST mission, is focused on hushing the sonic boom. Unveiled in January 2024, the X-59 has yet to take flight, with its first flight scheduled for an undisclosed date in 2025. The aircraft measures 99.7 feet or 30.4 meters in length, with a wingspan of 29.5 feet or 9 meters. The airframe is long and slender, with the nose accounting for 1/3 of its total length. Every design element of the X-59 aims to enable supersonic overland cruising speeds at up to Mach 1.4 while keeping noise levels below 75 perceived decibels, or roughly the sound of a car door closing. The cockpit also supports this goal as it lacks forward-facing windows and instead relies on cameras that feed visuals to monitors. While many modern aircraft have revolutionized aviation to some extent, the X-59 has the potential to truly transform how people travel. Imagine a world where commercial airlines could take you from Los Angeles to New York in under 3 hours, all because they no longer have to worry about sonic booms disrupting life on the ground. Thank you for watching.